Welcome to episode 7 of the Real, Raw, and Open podcast with your host, me, Melissa. So I'm really excited about this episode, and I don't know what to title it yet, but it's going to be about trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, and also about doubt. So what inspired this episode is actually, I was going to record it last night, but I was so tired and I was like, I don't want to force myself, but I was so excited to record it. So this is going to be a video episode and also audio, so you can listen to it on audio as well and video. I love watching video podcasts, so I thought I want to be doing video podcasts. I feel like it's much more engaging and entertaining. But yeah, it'll also be available in audio if you're driving in the car and listening to it. But what has inspired this episode is my own self-doubt and inability to trust myself. Oh my God, guys, I was just thinking before I pressed record, I am not sure if anyone has as much self-doubt as me. I have overcome it so much and I'm so proud of myself, but looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's some intense doubt. And I know that we all struggle with that, right? It's a natural, normal human thing because it's part of our programming as humans. But the doubt isn't our truth. The doubt is our mind and it's the programming. It's not who we truly are, because if we truly remembered our power and we truly remembered who we were, we wouldn't doubt ourselves, right? So it's kind of a journey on this path of remembrance, right? We're starting out not remembering who we are, and we're all just beginning to remember more and more of who we are and wake up to who we are. And so it's a journey and it's a process, and self-doubt is one of the things that we let go of along the way on this journey of remembrance, right? Because it's not our truth. But it is something that many of us struggle with. And like many of my episodes, the way that I feel called to share things is through stories of my own life. So I was looking back, most recently, I have been, just lately, I guess I would say the last year, my channeling abilities have been coming more online, and more of my psychic gifts are coming online. And this is new for me. And so when certain things come through, I doubt them. But things have been different the past year because I've been channeling a lot of messages from Goddess Isis. It actually started when Mary Magdalene came into my life, and I channeled a message from the Magdalenes, the Magdalene Order of Consciousness, when I was really heavily connecting to Mary Magdalene. And when that message came through, I doubted it, of course. But then when I read it, I was like, these are not my words. And it gave me complete chill. So I was like, okay, you channeled a message from the Magdalenes. That's pretty cool, because I never channeled things like that before my whole awakening journey. And I've been awakening since 2016, actually 2012, unconsciously. So never on my whole journey have I channeled messages from, orders of consciousness or goddesses or, the cosmic family. That's something new for me. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, that was interesting. That's pretty cool. Doubted it a bit. Then I channeled a message, a personal message from Mary Magdalene to myself, and I doubted it so much. I reached out to a friend and I was like, I just channeled a message from Mary Magdalene, but I think I made it up in my head, and I think it's just me making it up. And so I sent it to her and I was like, do you think this sounds like a channeled message? And then I told her, I was like, when I read it back after I channeled it, I started crying. So I was like, we were laughing together because I sent it to her and I was like, I think this is a channeled message from Mary Magdalene, because if it was my own thoughts, like my own words that I'm just making up in my head, I don't think it'd make me cry. Like, I don't think it'd make me emotional to read back like my own thoughts that I'm making up, or like my imagination, you know? So she was laughing and she's like, of course it's a channeled message. Like, I got full body chills reading it, and she was laughing at the fact that I'm like asking, like, do you think it would make me cry? Like, I don't think it'd make me cry if it was my own thoughts that I'm making up. And I've done this my whole journey. I have doubted myself and doubted my gifts, doubted my intuition, and it's been a process and it's been a journey. And I finally gotten to the place where I'm trusting it. I'm trusting myself. I'm trusting in the information that comes through me and through my channel. And I'm just trusting it. And it's kind of like a decision, because I've realized that self-doubt is like self-sabotage. And I've spent way too many fucking years doubting myself. And so I decided I'm just gonna trust myself, and I'm gonna trust every single thing that comes through my channel, well, like with discernment, you know, but like I'm gonna trust it. I'm not gonna sit there and say, am I making this up? But yeah, I wanted to share this because this has been going on for as long as I can remember. So I remember when I was living in Mount Shasta, I feel called to tell this story and tell many other stories, because this is how I share things. I realize everything I share, like, I tell stories like with my life, and then people can relate to it that way, because that's how it comes through. So the first thing that inspired this, the first story that inspired this episode, is when I was living in Mount Shasta, and I was just, you know, in the years following up to me living in Mount Shasta, I was really connecting with the Lemurians, and I was moving there because there was things there for me with the Lemurians, and I lived there for a year. And right before, so a few months before my lease was up in Mount Shasta, I was getting called to go to Kauai, and it was interesting because Kauai, I didn't have the money to move to Kauai. I thought it was a very far off dream, but like the calling kept growing stronger and stronger until my whole vision board was Kauai. And I like felt, even though I didn't know the how I was gonna get there, I just felt so called, and I felt like it was soon. So I was like obsessed. I was obsessed with trying to figure out how I was gonna move to Kauai. And I had my whole vision board, and it was all Kauai. And then I remember I was sitting on the mountain. So I lived very close to the mountain. And if you've never been to Mount Shasta, there's like a little town below the mountain. And then there's the mountain itself where all the magic is. And I would go up there all the time, because when I lived in Mount Shasta, I was going through the like purging demons out there. It was very intense. It was a lot of shadow work, like the most shadow work I've ever done in my life. And dark times out there, dark shadows, purging demons, fighting, battling. It was really hard for me. I went through like so many mental breakdowns there, and it was really hard. And that's what happens when you're called to move in portals. The accelerated energy of the portals kind of pushes all your shadows to the surface. So anything that needs healing is like, you have to face it. And Mount Shasta is like the most intense portal I've ever been in, because also it was the first portal I was called to live in, but it was like so intense. So I found like, what is the word? Like solace, is that the right word? On the mountain. So I was going through so much in my life at that time, and I would go to the mountain, and I would just, literally sometimes I would just lay in the dirt, like, and curl up. Like, I remember one time I was going through so much at that time that I like found a tree, and I just like curled in a ball in the dirt under the tree, and just like sobbed, and like was just going through so much. So the mountain like held me. The mountain held me, and I'd take my daughter, and we'd always like hike in the forest, go on the mountain, and just like find little pieces of the mountain where no one was. And One time, I think I picked her up from school. I drove up to the mountain because we lived so close, like 5-minute drive up the mountain. And I found this little, like my favorite spot up there where like not a lot of people go, especially during certain times of the year. And it was so foggy. I remember walking up this like hill, this path, and it was so foggy. And, but like there was sun, but there was fog. Like, so you couldn't see the sun because there was fog. And I found a patch of sunlight, like that was piercing through the fog. Excuse me, I'm gonna also take a sip of my coffee because I got this really delicious Starbucks drink this morning and I don't wanna, it's like getting melted. It's a brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso. Okay, so I found this patch of sunlight and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go sit and like let that sunlight hit my face. And so I sat down in the dirt, and as I was doing that, I was breathing, I was visualizing me in I just saw 11:11. I was visualizing me in Kauai, and so this vision came into my mind, and it was so real. And it was, yeah, like a projection of my future timeline of me living in Kauai. So I saw me and my daughter running on a beach, the happiest we've ever been. Like my highest timeline at that point in my life, like the highest timeline available to me at that point in my journey, because it's always shifting, right? Like when you get to the highest timeline available to you at that point, like there's other timelines at different points that you will be like shifting into, if that makes sense. But at that point, it was like, oh my God, this is my highest timeline. Like we are happy, we are thriving, we are like living our best life. And me and my daughter had gone through so much together in Mount Shasta, because I was literally having like mental breakdowns, like probably every week. It was the hardest time of my life. Like I was going through so much. And of course, like that had an effect on my daughter. So we were both like really going through a lot. It was bad. And so when I saw that vision, I was like, oh, like that we're happy and we're free and we're running on a beach somewhere in Kauai. Like, wow. And I held on to that vision and I was like, is this real? You know, like, will we ever get there? Because at that point, I had no money to go there. And so to me, that was like a far off vision, and I didn't know when that was going to happen. But I wanted it so bad because I was suffering so bad in Mount Shasta. I like really needed a change of scenery, and I had this intense call to go to Kauai. So I remember I was making art at the time because I was channeling the artwork for my Oracle deck. And near the end of me living in Mount Shasta, there was a night where like 20 images. So a deck is like 44 or 55 cards, right? Images. I channeled 22 images in one night. I think maybe over the course of 2 days. I was just like working crazy on my iPad, creating the artwork. Like this like energy was moving through me. I was channeling my Oracle deck, Children of the Cosmos Oracle. And I chose a soul sister. I had made it with all of my soul sisters, all of the my beautiful soul family that I find on Instagram. And one of them was a girl called Light Being Codes. Her name's Jessica. She's amazing. She makes all of the channeled starseed art that you probably see circulating on Instagram. She actually just came out with a deck by Kyle Gray, and she channeled the artwork for the Oracle deck that Kyle Gray just came out with. I don't know the name of it, but I need to buy it right now because she's an incredible channel, and she channels all the starseed art. So her name actually, I hope I get this correct or I'll have to crop this part out and go check, but her Instagram is at light_being_codes. So I chose her to be in the deck and I channeled this artwork for her. And I forget how it came about, but I was showing her the 2 cards I created of her. I think I created one and I showed her and she really liked it. And so we did a trade. I think we did a trade for another one because I had the one that I already made for her that I gave to her, and then that was going to be in my deck. And then I think we agreed on like a trade for another one, which is like, that's so amazing. So she's so gifted. And so during this DNA activation that I did with her, I was sharing, like I said, I was like one track mind Kauai. I needed to get to Kauai. So my intention with going into this DNA activation was like, I just want to know everything about Kauai and how I'm going to get there. So that was like my main focus of when she was asking, do you have any questions? Like, what do you want to know from your guides? And I was just like, Kauai, when am I going to Kauai? I need to know everything. Like, how am I going to get there? I'm feeling so called. So getting to the point of why I'm telling you this story, but she was channeling, so she closed her eyes and she was like connecting with my guides, and she was working with my guides to do this DNA activation. And she was like, okay, like the dolphins, the Sirian dolphins are coming through right now, and they're working with you right now, activating your DNA. I was like, cool, Sirian dolphins. Like, I feel so connected to dolphins. I think at that point in my journey, I had felt connected to many different star races. Syrian starseed like aspect of my soul, it was kind of coming up at that point, if that makes sense. Like, it was just starting to surface, because I think before, like, I felt connected to Pleiadian, Lyran, Andromedan, Arcturian, Sirian was one of them, but I don't think it was coming online too strongly at that point. That was like kind of like the beginning. So then, before she even said anything else, this was the first time this ever happened to me. And I remember it was like in 2018 or 2019, I recorded a YouTube video about this because I was so excited, because this was my first time experiencing something like this. So I wonder if I can clip that in. I think I'm gonna try to clip that in for the podcast episode, as me sitting on the mountain and telling this story of this like vision that I got. So she's talking about the dolphins, and then I get this mental image like projected into my mind. I have like chills thinking about it, but I saw this blue being, and it was so weird. She was projecting this image in my head. She turned to the side. So first I see her face. She has blue skin, and she's like, I don't remember at the time if I knew she was Sirian, but I got this image of a being, and she had blue skin, and she specifically showed me in this vision, like quick, like it was so fast. She turned to the side and she showed me her elongated head, her elongated skull, right? I have like so many chills. Then she shows me, and I don't know what this is. I haven't been able to confirm. I've confirmed the elongated head is a physical trait of the Sirians, which is fucking crazy because I doubted it at first. She showed me the ridges on top of her head. Like, it was like a spine, like ridges, like I don't know how to explain it, how like a dinosaur would have like their spine. I don't know. She showed me ridges on the top of her head and her elongated skull. And she's like, I'm gonna see what guides want to come through. So while she was connecting with the guides, I got a vision of a blue being, and it showed me hi. Right when I say a blue being, a little blue starseed baby pops up. Can I see your shirt?
Yeah. I want it unzipped. I'm hot.
Lemurian. There was an image projected in my mind, and I saw a blue being, like a star being, whatever you want to call it. And I instantly saw, for some reason, I don't know why it came to my attention, but it showed me there was a ridge going along her head, the top of her head. It was almost like a spine, but not. But like it was like a ridge going like that. So she is so windy. Having fun?
Yeah.
So she showed me that for some reason, I don't know why. And then all of a sudden, the image shifted or switched. It was like a slide. And it showed me that the side view of the extraterrestrial skull, and it showed like the back was slightly elongated. And I was thinking to myself, like, what kind of being is this and why am I seeing it? So the image started coming into me. As I was thinking that, it like came into me, and like, I don't even know how to explain it. It went from an image being in front of me to literally the image of the being coming into me and like over me. Like, it was so weird. I don't even know how to explain it. But after that, she was like, okay, so your Syrian guide is coming through. And I didn't mention until the end because I didn't want to interrupt her, but I was, love you, bye. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, it was a Syrian. And the reason why the image was coming into me is it was showing me I am you. I am another aspect of you. So then I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then she goes on, she proceeds with her eyes are closed. She's like, channeling my guides. And she's like, and there's your Syrian guide is here. And I was like, my Syrian guide? Like, I doubted everything. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, And I forget if she stops, or no, her eyes are still closed at this point, but she like stops and she asks me, I ask her because I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, my Syrian guide? Like, this is so cool, because I hadn't connected with my guides much at that point in my life. I was kind of like still, tapping into my gifts and things like that. And so I was excited. I was like, oh my God, this is my first time meeting like my guide, like my first guide I ever met in my life. And so I ask her, I'm like, does she have a name? Does my Syrian guide have a name? I'm so excited. And she's like, she's asking me to ask you. And I was like, ugh, like, I don't know how to explain my self-doubt. Like, I trusted her channel more. So I was like, oh no, like, I don't want to answer this. Like, I want you to answer this because I would trust it more if it was coming from you, right? Which is crazy, because this was my first time being tested to trust my own intuition, because I doubted myself so much. I trusted somebody else's channel over my own connection to my own channel and my own intuition. And because I was like, oh, she's more gifted. Like, she clearly can, she's communicating with my guides. I can't, so I don't trust my intuition. And so she's like, she's asking me to ask you. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to answer because I don't trust myself and I'll probably think I'm making it up. So then she tells me her name, and I heard the name Zora, and I'm like, so dumb. You literally just fucking made that up in your head. And so I was like nervous to even say it because I doubted myself so much. I was like, you're just making shit up in your head again. Like, and I told her Zora, and I was like, I don't know, like Zara, something like that. And she was like, no, that's it. And I was like, what? Like, I literally had to re-ask her because I didn't trust myself that much, that she's like, oh, nope, that's it, Zora. She just told me. And I'm like, wait, are you sure? Because like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure. She said that. And I was like, I doubted myself so much, even when she confirmed it. I was like, no, like, this isn't real. There's no way. I think I just made that up. I just guessed that, like, it's not real. And then so I literally asked her again. I said, so she told you, like, I needed to make sure 1,000% that this was like real. So I told her, I'm like, wait, she confirmed to you that it is Zora? And she's just like, yeah, like, no big deal. Yes, she confirmed it. And I was like, phew. Does the Syrian guide have a name?
I can ask her.
Yeah.
She's asking me, did a name pop in your head? Or is it name?
Zora or Zara. I think Zora.
Yeah, Zora. She's saying Zora.
Really?
Yes.
I was literally, I don't know if that was me imagining it or not, but she told you that it was Zora?
Yeah, no, she confirmed Zora.
That's so
Yes.
crazy.
Because
Wow.
I was trying to think, and she said ask her, because everybody has a different filter, and especially with
Yeah,
names, it's very, very difficult to translate names into this 3D language. It's a very
that's so
energetic thing.
crazy.
And so
You
she
could see
wanted,
how I struggle to trust like the information that comes through me. I'm
yeah,
learning to like trust that.
yeah. But believe me, we all. I mean, it's a constant process. But she's definitely saying, yeah, trust what comes through, and call her Zora when you need her. When you need her support or guidance, just call on her, and she will be there to support you.
Like what? I actually got it right. Like I heard her name. Like it was mind-blowing for me because I hadn't connected with my guides. I was not really connected to my intuition, my like psychic gifts. So that was crazy to me. And after that, I think I shared with her like, oh, she shared this image with me. So I like knew what she looked like. And then she goes on to tell me that the reason that my Syrian guide is coming through is because she's working with me closely in the timeline where I'm living in Kauai. Chills again. So then she's like, oh, this is interesting. She's telling me she's another aspect of you in Sirius. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. After that, this was like years ago, I heard somewhere that all of our guides are actually other aspects of ourself. So that's interesting, but that's what she told me. She's like, yeah, she's another aspect of your soul, and she's working with you closely in the timeline of you living in Kauai, so that's why she's coming through. And I was like, oh wow, that's so crazy. Like, how amazing. And then of course when I got to Kauai, I pulled it was in 2020, and it was like during COVID. I remember I was quarantined at a hotel for the first 2 weeks of my trip there because that was the rule. If you came in, you had to quarantine somewhere for 2 weeks. So I was at a hotel and I was pulling cards, and the Syrian card was the one that I pulled. So it was like confirmed. And actually it's been years now since that happened, and I just started connecting with Zora again because it took me that long to actually trust in myself enough to channel her myself, because I think I tried to connect with her like once or twice, but I doubted it. I probably did connect with her and then doubted it and just brushed it off as, oh, I'm just making this up in my head. I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know. Do you guys do that when you're getting messages, downloads, or channeling information? Do you like ever think that you're making it up in your head? Because that was a thing where I was like, and I still am working through that. But I share this story because the other night, I had this experience with Zora and then with the Syrians. And so like my channel is now really coming online. Like my connection to my channel and my like psychic gifts, they're all starting to come online. And like it's at a point now where I can't really doubt myself anymore, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm stepping into my leadership role and stepping into my purpose and my mission. So I've worked enough on my self-doubt to know that like it's a form of self-sabotage at this point. And if I were to keep dismissing my gifts as like, you know, made up, or just doubting that I like am doing the work that I'm doing with channeling, like if I keep doubting that, it's actually such a big disservice to my soul. So I've worked through enough of that now where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna let that go. I decided actually I think it was last week, I decided I'm not going to doubt anything that comes through, like with discernment, of course, but if it comes through, I'm not going to say I'm making this up in my head, because I'm not. And it was confirmed to me last night, or I think it was the night before. So I've been having like crazy experiences. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. So let me, before I move into like the crazy experience with the Syrian and Zora and all of that and ISIS, there's just so much to share. But when I lived in Oahu, right, this is funny because I've actually, the last year I've been working with Isis, and she's been helping me to trust myself, because that's been such a huge thing, a huge challenge for me. It has been. And so she's been helping me with that the last year, because I don't know how long ago at this point, maybe it's been it's been more than a year actually, that I channeled my course Initiation and co-created it with Isis. So honestly, all of that has been very new to me. I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee and then get into it, because I'm excited to share this, because I think it's gonna help others see, like, to trust themselves, trust their intuition, and trust their gifts, and like let them know they're not alone. Like, you're not alone in the fact that you don't trust yourself and that you doubt yourself, because like I said, it's a human thing. All of us are learning to let go of, because it's not our truth. Okay, so back to where I was saying, like, when I was channeling like Mary Magdalene, the Magdalenes, and all of that, that's when my channeling abilities came online. And then fast forward to like 1 to 2 years after that happened, I was working with Goddess Isis, and this was around the time that I lost my dad. So I was working with Goddess Isis to move through like heavy grief, and I didn't know until afterwards, which makes so much sense why she came into my life at that point, because I was moving through the most intense grief I've ever moved through. And this was actually before he passed away, because the grief started when I knew that he was going to pass away, because he had cancer. And so I had to prepare for it, because I was told that he didn't have much longer. And so the grief journey started when I had to mentally prepare to like lose him. And I remember I had just got the news from my brother. He texted me like, he doesn't have much time. If you have any last things you want to say to him, you should call him. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean call him? I'm flying out there like next week. Like I was praying he could hold on until because I was living in Oahu at the time. So I had to fly to California, where my family lives. And so, yeah, my brother was like, I don't think he has much time. You should call him and tell him if there's anything else you want to say. And I was like, I'm literally flying there as soon as possible. And we did. We flew and we got to see him and say goodbye. But before that happened, right after my brother texted me that, those following days before I flew to California, I was like, my whole world was like flipped upside down, because the last time I talked to him, I hadn't talked to him in like probably a month, because I was going through so much and I was like moving through depression at that time. But I remember the month before that, I had a phone call with him and he said he was perfectly fine, and he said he was gonna beat it, and that everything was gonna be fine and he was gonna overcome it. So I had no like thought in my mind that anything was actually gonna happen to him. And so like I wasn't prepared for that news, because he told me he was okay. And the last phone call I had with him, he was like, I'm gonna be around a lot longer and everything's fine. And he believed that, and he shared that with me, and I trusted that. And so when I got that message from my brother, I was like, my world was shattered, because I was like, there's no way. I thought everything was going to be okay. There wasn't a thought in my mind that he was actually, going to pass away. I didn't think that wasn't an option in my head. And so around that time, I remember laying in my bed and I was like, going through so much grief. It was like unbearable amounts of grief and like such heaviness in my heart. And like Isis came to me, and I didn't know this until afterwards, but she's the goddess of the afterlife. So she's also like the goddess of, I don't know exactly what the words are, but like she helps souls into the afterlife. And so it made sense, like she was working with me to prepare to lose my dad. And I didn't know that was an association with her, because when I first started working with Mary Magdalene, I felt Goddess Isis. Even when I was called to move to Egypt for 5 months, like I felt Isis. I co-created my Priestess Path course with her, but I didn't heavily connect to her as much as I did with Mary Magdalene, but I was beginning to work with her. But when I was in that grief portal, she came so strongly. And after that, like my connection with her was so strong. And I remember I was laying in bed one night and I couldn't face the grief. So I think I put my daughter to bed. It was nighttime, you know, when you're like alone with your thoughts. And I turned the TV on. I was trying to distract myself because I didn't want to feel such intense grief. So I sat and I had something on in the background, and I was sitting on the couch in the living room, scrolling, trying to do anything to escape this feeling. I couldn't face it. It was so hard. I didn't want to sit with it. I didn't want to sit with the pain. And there were points throughout my day, like I tried to confront it, you know, I had to confront the reality of it. But like when it was nighttime, I was like, oh no. It felt like a tsunami coming up, they call it like waves of grief or whatever. This was a tsunami that was about to completely submerge me, and I felt like I was gonna drown in that grief. So I was scared and I was trying to run from that like big wave that was about to hit me. And I was doing anything I could to distract myself. And then it wasn't working. And I said, you know what? I need to go sit with this. And so I go and I lay down in the dark in my bedroom. I lay down and I sit with the grief. I turn off all the lights and I say, I'm not going to run from my emotions anymore. I'm going to sit with them, and I have to feel this. I can't escape this grief. And then Isis came in, and she worked with me to alchemize this grief. And yeah, so I'm getting to the point, but like I just love sharing all of this because this is when I started working with Isis. And shortly after, I co-created my course Initiation with her. And she came in so strongly, and like I felt her working with me to alchemize the grief and the pain in my heart. And then after that, I co-created my course Initiation with her. And it was hard for me because I doubted it a lot. And I always do this where like I'm like co-creating with them. I'm co-creating with Mary Magdalene. I'm co-creating with Goddess Isis. But like a part of me is like, is this really real? Are you really like channeling them? Like I doubted it so much. So when I was co-creating this course with Goddess Isis, it was like very different than any of my other courses because she was fully overseeing like the whole course. And actually shortly after moving through that grief journey with her, the download for Initiation came through. And so in this course, I was channeling messages from her, which is actually the first course I did where I had channeled messages from the goddess, like multiple channeled messages. Because in my Priestess Path course, I used the channeled message that I got from the Magdalenes. I like put into a video, like a kind of like a welcome video for my Priestess Path course. But as far as having channeled messages and things like that in my course, this was the first course I was doing that. So I was being asked to like trust my channel more. and it was challenging for me because I doubted it. But like, she came through so strongly after what I was moving through with my dad. She was like fully there, fully present, and working with me very closely to create this course and in many things that I was moving through at that time. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell this story even before, or no, around the time that this happened. I'll get to that next. There's so much to talk about in this episode. But yeah, so I started automatic writing to bring through the messages. So the way that they were coming through is I would automatic write and set my intention to channel her and the messages that she had for me for this course. And so I that was my first time I started automatic writing. And then I realized that's how I bring through like channeled messages, is through automatic writing. And this is actually how I did I'm pretty sure it's how I did the Magdalene one. And then my Mary Magdalene one, I was writing in Google Docs instead of actually writing with a pen or a pencil. I was receiving it and then writing it down in Google Docs. So it's all kind of the same, like just writing it down as it comes through. And so yeah, I channeled like a lot from her in the course. And then I was recording the last video for the course and the Syrians came through, and I was like, that's interesting. And a part of me doubted it, but then a part of me is like, stop doubting yourself because this is real. Like, how could you keep denying something so right in your face? Like, a part of me trusted it, but there was still that little piece of me that doubted it. But anyways, the Syrians came through, and I'm still new to working with them. So in the end of the course, the last video, the Syrians came through as I was channeling Isis, and then I was speaking light language, and then they started doing this like, I don't even know how to describe it. They started doing this deprogramming of the mind. So they were like helping to work on like the mind and doing like this deprogramming type of work. And I was like doing all this crazy stuff while I was like channeling them, and I was like sitting, and they were like showing me like doing this like cosmic surgery type of thing. And I was like, okay, this is so interesting because this is my first experience with it, but I had to trust it. So they were doing like this cosmic surgery thing, and you could see in the video, in the last video of that course initiation, I'm like going like that and like doing all this thing that they're guiding me to do, and I didn't know what was going on, but I was just trying to trust it the best I could. But I'm gonna tell you a story of how it's confirmed to me. So like I keep getting confirmations. Like a piece of me is like, are you making that up? Are you just doing some weird shit with your hands and thinking that it's you channeling the Syrians? And then I keep getting confirmation that I'm not making it up, which is actually not yesterday, but the day before, I got a confirmation of everything to do with the Syrians, and I'll share that next. But really quick before moving into that, I want to share that around this time of when I was channeling my course initiation and working with Goddess Isis and channeling messages from her, I lived in Oahu, and I lived in a high-rise apartment, so it was hard for me to grocery shop because in order to bring bags of groceries up, you would have to have a cart, like a huge cart, because the parking garage is like 12 stories up. So I'd have to carry it from the parking garage up 2 elevators, down like a hallway. It's just a lot for just being me and my daughter. So it was hard to do groceries. So I would order them delivery with this company called Shipt, which when I would order from like Target or something, that's the delivery company they use. And with Shipt, every time you order groceries or whatever they're shopping for, they send you a text message saying, hey, it's your Shipt shopper, and then they'll put their name. And so like I had been ordering grocery delivery the whole time I've lived there because it's just more convenient, and I never got any driver like with a weird name or anything. Like, so then when I got this text message of them confirming my order and confirming that they were gonna go shop for my order, it was so bizarre because she's like, hey, first of all, I didn't know it was a woman until she delivered my groceries, and I saw that it was a woman, and I was like, oh my God, like, I wanted to text her afterwards, like, your name is so special. Like, I wonder if she knew the significance, or like her parents named her this. It was so bizarre. So anyways, she says, hey, it's your shipped shopper, Osiris. And I'm like, Osiris? Osiris? Your name's Osiris? Like, because Osiris is Isis's husband. And I don't know the myth with the myth of Isis. I was trying to look more into it, and it was like saying that he was also her brother at one point. So I don't know about that. But anyways, it's like the divine masculine counterpart to Isis, and it's her husband. And so when I was like working with Isis closely at that time, and then the name of the shipped shopper was Osiris, I was like, okay, this has to be a sign. This has to be a sign. What does the sign mean? Like, what could this mean? Why am I getting a sign of Osiris? And actually around that time, I kept pulling this card from the Isis Oracle that was the divine masculine card. So I thought it had something to do with that. I'm like, okay, Osiris, the divine masculine counterpart to Isis, her husband, it's a sign probably of like divine union, like it within me, or like that it's coming for me. And so like, I just couldn't believe it. I was so mind blown. I was like, that's such a weird out there sign. Like, it's just something I couldn't ignore. Like, that's too bizarre to me to sit and say like, oh, that's nothing. It's just a coincidence she's named Osiris. Like, what the fuck? No, I've never heard anyone named that in my life except for the actual like god Osiris. So crazy. But I also was starting to doubt like things, because I'm like thinking, what does this mean? So I go in the bath, and I'm trying to meditate in the bath, and I close my eyes, and I'm calling in Isis, and I'm like, please, can you confirm that this is like a sign? And I was like, I kind of think it has to do with divine masculine, but can you confirm, like, what does the sign mean? And so then, like I said, I still I still doubt when she comes in, when I'm receiving messages from her, when I'm channeling messages from her, there's still a piece of me that thinks I'm making it up in my head and that it's not her. So, but like, as it kept happening, I had no choice but to really trust it, because it kept happening. But she told me and confirmed, yes, it is a sign of divine masculine, divine union, that you're healing like the masculine in you. And I forget if she also said that it has to do also with divine union, like coming into my life, like a person. But she confirmed. And then I said, oh, I bet I just made that up. And she literally shows me a visual, like right after I started doubting what she just told me. She just told me this. And then I'm like, oh, but I'm probably making it up. And she shows me a visual of these glasses, and the glasses like have fog, and so I can't see through the glasses. Then she takes a cloth in the visual and she wipes the glasses off so I can see clearly. And then right as the fog disappears from the glasses, I'm looking through the glasses, and she shows me the words, trust yourself. And so I'm like, I felt so, what is the word? I felt like ashamed. No, I'm just joking. Not actually ashamed, but I was like, all right, she's like, come on. Like, come on. You can't doubt yourself that badly that you are gonna doubt everything that I'm sharing with you. And I was like, okay, Isis, like, I'll trust myself. I'll trust myself now. I know, like, I doubt myself too much. And so I was like, ugh, like, what the hell? Why do I doubt myself so much that I just keep doing it and keep doing it, and everything that comes through, I'm just like doubting, and am I making it up? And so when I got that visual, when she showed me that visual, I laughed, and I was like, okay, she's probably cracking up. Like, she's probably laughing at me. Like, I just told you the message and you're gonna doubt it. But like, she knows, our guides know that it's hard. Our human self has all of these limitations and has all of this programming that keeps us from like realizing our truth and realizing like our belief system truly like really affects how we perceive our reality. So our guides laugh sometimes, and they do funny synchronicities, funny signs. Like I'm sure you've had experiences that make you laugh, where it's the signs so in your face that you like can't ignore it. And like our guides have a sense of humor, so sometimes things are really funny, and I thought that visual was so funny. And I would just imagine she would be kind of laughing and being like, okay, like time to trust yourself, can't keep self-sabotaging and dismissing everything that comes through your channel. And so yeah, that story is the first time I started to realize like, okay, I gotta stop this. I gotta stop this self-sabotage. Like this is not okay. I can't keep doubting myself so much. And so that's what I was working with Isis on, is helping to trust, or she was helping me to trust myself. And actually that ended up being in my course initiation, like kind of how she worked with me to trust myself. Like there's a video in that course also of like how she helped me trust myself, and how she helped me do that is helping me to come back to my heart, coming back to my heart and knowing that in my heart is where my truth lives. And so anything that is not of my truth, I could always come back to my heart and know that only truth lives here. This is like the thing I was called to do. Only truth lives here. Only love lives here. Only light lives here. And so anytime a emotion or any belief or anything that is not of your truth, right, such as doubting yourself, anytime something like that comes up, you can connect to your heart and say, is this my truth? You could ask your higher self, is this my truth? Is this my truth? And you could ask your heart and you'll get the answer. And it'll say, depending on what it is, like, no, this isn't your truth. Should I be doubting myself? No, that's not your truth. You know, there's a part of you that knows, like, to trust yourself. So that was how she worked with me. And in that course, there was like some additional like things activating your heart and all of that help with that. So it was around that time where I was channeling my course initiation and I got the sign from Isis, like trust yourself. That was when I decided like, I'm gonna start trusting it more. I'm gonna start trusting in the information that comes through me. I'm gonna stop doubting my intuition. And like, yeah, that was the point in my life where I was like, I'm gonna trust it more. But still, like, you can't just, say like, okay, I'm done. Self-doubt is never gonna come up, because yeah, it comes up. And just last night, so lately, since it's been almost 4 months since I've been here in Bali, and just the last week, like, so much has shifted. Like, my like channel is being really opened, like my connection to my channel, and like I've been channeling things that I have never channeled before. And it makes sense that I had to go on that journey of like doubting myself so that I could learn to trust myself, so that at this point in my journey, when I actually am like stepping into my purpose, stepping into my mission, and I'm realizing a piece of that is bringing through like more galactic frequencies and galactic codes in the work that I do. Because like I said, when I first stepped into my purpose and stepped onto the priestess path, I was being called to like work with the goddesses, channel things from the goddesses, but I had not stepped into channeling like the Syrians and things like that, which actually the last few days, that's what's been happening. So I realized I've been being prepared. I had to start with like the goddesses, so that when it got to this point to channeling like the Syrians, that I would trust it more. So this is why I told the story of the Syrians, because the last 2 days I had like crazy experiences with the Syrians, and now I'm realizing like everything I doubted was confirmed in the last few days. So first of all, I've been being prepared to step into a new phase of my work where I'm working more with like galactic codes, like cosmic channeling, and yeah, things are shifting. Things are shifting with my gifts and my channel, and it's really like my gifts are really starting to come online now. And I had this experience. So when did it start? So I watched this video. I was watching this video. I forget. There were two videos. I was guided to two women who are fucking incredible channels. And I watched two separate videos. One of them was like a journey connecting with different star races. And then I forget what the other one was. But after going through these like journeys, I had an experience. I'm trying to think, I forgot because I've watched so many videos in the past few days. Like, I don't know. I know there was this one experience where I was connecting to the Syrians. I forget. But it wasn't in these experiences that, in these videos where I experienced what I'm gonna share. It was actually when I went off on my own and I said, okay, so this stuff, I'm realizing it's very real and I need to trust it. So I attempted to connect. I remember I went back and I watched the video from back in Mount Shasta. I rewatched my reading, that part of the reading where I was connecting with my guide Zora. And then I went and I watched the story of me sharing about my visual I got of Zora. And then I was like, okay, it's time, years later. I don't even know how many years it's been since I've even tried to connect with her, because I doubted my ability to do that. And then I doubted, like, even if I did connect with her, I would have doubted it. I would have dismissed it and said, oh no, you're making that up. This isn't Zora. So I've been practicing lately more with automatic writing and with walking myself through contacting my guides and working with the Syrians. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I was laying there the other night and I was connecting with the Syrians, and they were doing this like deep healing and cosmic surgery on me. And it was like, I was like, oh wow, this is like crazy, because yeah, I'm not used to connecting with the Syrians that much. So like I just felt now like they were telling me like, this is going to be a part of your work now, that you're going to start incorporating more like frequencies from the Syrians and things like that into your work. So that's where my work is like moving a little bit more. I don't know much about it, but that's the message I've been getting. So then I was like in such a trance, like such a deep state of meditation. Like, I don't know, I don't really meditate much, but like I'm being asked to meditate more, because it's not so much about meditating as it is with just like clearing your mind and creating space for what needs to come through. Like obviously our mind throughout the day is chatter, chatter, chatter. So if you don't quiet the chatter, you can't really hear your guides and you can't really hear certain things. So that, I think that's blocked me from not working with, you know, like communicating with my guides and stuff like that, because I never made space for that. But the last week I've been really called to make that a priority so I can connect more with my guides to bring through like the next phase of my purpose and mission with like working with these frequencies. So I was in such a deep state of meditation, like not even aware really of what was going on, but they were like working with me and doing like cosmic surgery on the mind, removing the programming, outdated programming from the mental body. And I didn't know, like, so I told that story of when the Syrians came through for my course initiation. Like, it was such a short little thing, but what they were doing is working on my mental body to remove like outdated and old programming. And there was a part of me after I had channeled that, I like was like, did I make that up? Do they really do that? Is this really them? Like I told you, that's the thoughts that go through my head when this stuff comes through. And so there was confirmation that that's how the Syrians work, like the other night. So I'm gonna jump all around. I'm trying to figure out the best way to kind of seamlessly tell the story. And I'm like so excited to share this because yeah, like it's so exciting, right? When you're like your psychic gifts are coming online. This is all new for me, and this is something I've wanted like my whole awakening journey, because when I first started awakening, like I was all about the starseed stuff. It's like before I even stepped into the priestess stuff, which came way down like years after my awakening. But the way I awakened was my starseed awakening happened like as I was awakening. So I was very connected to like the starseed aspects of my soul. But then when I began having like my priestess awakening and that template of the priestess was coming online, I felt not as connected. Not that I didn't feel connected. I don't know the word to explain it, because I'm always like very connected to my starseed aspects, but like it wasn't showing, it wasn't very present because I had to move through like the priestess stuff. But it's all connected because, you know, the goddesses are from like these, like Hathor is from Sirius. So like the goddesses aren't so much like human, they're connected to these, you know, like star systems, different star systems. So now at this point in my journey, they're merging. Now everything's merging. It's making sense. Like I was talking to my soul sister, Melissa. We have the same name and we're both Magdalene Isis priestesses. Her Instagram is Magdalene Rose Temple. And I remember we did a video because we were doing a live on Mary Magdalene. And before we did the live, we connected a bit on Zoom before we connected on Instagram Live. And I remember talking to her about like the priestess stuff and the starseed stuff. And she's like, yeah, I think the reason like we connect and the things we're doing is bringing the starseed aspects and the priestess aspects, because she's like, there's different types of priestesses. Like some priestesses are more, I don't know how to even describe it with words, but some priestesses work in the earthly realms, and then some priestesses work in like the more galactic cosmic realm. So she was like, me and you kind of do both, like we kind of merge, like we're like the bridges of the earthly and then like the cosmic. So a lot in her work, she'll be channeling like different star systems, all the different goddesses, and that's the work that I feel called to do. But I think I had to step into the priestess stuff first. And I think like working with Goddess Isis and Mary Magdalene, it's like preparing me for like now working more with other frequencies. So, but I heavily feel that's part of my purpose, is to work within the span of like both galactic, cosmic, and like also earthly goddesses, priestess, all of that. So anyways, when I experienced such a deep and profound like experience with them, I called them in again. So first I had that experience, and then I was like, okay, that's amazing. And then I did some automatic writing to channel and bring through more information from them. And so then I was like, okay, I can trust this now. I can call them in and I can trust all of it now. So this was kind of exciting for me. Or like, I don't know why I just said kind of, it's the most exciting thing in my entire awakening journey, to be honest, because this is what I've waited for. This is what I've been waiting for. Like I said, like I connected more with the starseed stuff, like the first few years with my awakening journey. Like literally my name, before I changed my name to I Am Melissa Boudreau on Instagram, it was Children of the Cosmos. I was like fully deep in the starseed stuff. And there was a point where it wasn't as present, right? So now it's like, ooh, it wasn't present because I was being prepared for it. And now I'm ready. I'm fully ready now. And so, yeah, so then I was laying last night, I think, yeah, it was last night or the night before. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call in Zora. I'm going to actually try to talk to Zora now, because now I trust if she comes that I can trust what she says. So I did some automatic writing, and like the craziest things came through, and they were like, yeah, we've been working with you every single night and you've actually been being prepared for this. So like, that's why you're calling us in and wanting to work with us, because we're actually working with you every single night. And then when I went to connect with Zora, she was like, yeah, I'm the one who's been facilitating your nightly like astral travel visits to the ship, the Syrian ship, to receive your healing. And I was like, wow. So there's a lot happening and shifting. And so I called her in. So I'm telling this story because like the fucking craziest shit happened. So then so I called in Zora, and I was taken to a ship, and I was talking to Zora. I don't even forget. Sometimes I'm in such a deep state of like trance. I don't know the word, but I like forget what happens. But I forget what happened with her. I was talking to her, and I forget if I was also like receiving healing from the Syrians, like some cosmic surgery, deprogramming type of thing. And all of a sudden, it was so bizarre. It was so unexpected, because my intention was to go into this meditation, this meditative state, to talk to Zora, because I wanted to start connecting more with her, because I was like, she's always been there, and I've just kind of ignored her like for freaking years, because I didn't trust my channel. And so I never tried to consciously connect with her really a lot. And so my intention was to connect with the Syrians, because they've been really calling to me. Like, I really wanted to begin working with them more. And it makes sense, because they told me like, yeah, you want to work with us because you're already doing that every single night in the astral realms, like astral traveling to the ships and working with us. And so that was my main intention. I want to work with Syrians, I want to work with my Syrian guide Zora. And all of a sudden, I'm like in this deep meditative state, and I'm focusing on the Syrians because that's what I want to connect with. And all the fucking sudden, a galactic, like literally like universe, galaxy, like I don't know how to explain it. The visual is like out of the cosmos, like an image of Hathor's head appeared. And I was like, Hathor, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing here? It was so bizarre. So she like emerged out of this cosmic galaxy, like you see images of the galaxy, of the stars. She like emerged out of that, and it was just her head. And I was like, Hathor, like, what are you doing here? She came through, and then I forget what happened after that. And then I came out of the meditation, and I was like, Hathor. And I was like, wait a second, I think I remember reading a book that told me Hathor's from Sirius. So I was like mind blown. I was fucking mind blown. I was like, Hathor Syrian. It makes so much sense why she came through while I was working with the Syrians. And I was so mind blown, because I was like, when she came in, when I saw that visual, I was like in pure shock, because I'm like, what does Hathor have to do with the Syrians? Because I'm so used to associating Hathor with Egypt. And so I forgot Hathor's from fucking Sirius. And so she came in while I was working with the Syrians. I didn't even like have an intention to connect with her. And I actually haven't connected mostly with her. I've connected with Mary Magdalene, Goddess Isis, Sekhmet. At certain points when I was living in Egypt, I connected a lot with Sekhmet. And then I remember one video for my Priestess Path course, Hathor came through once, but I didn't connect to her that deeply. I didn't feel called to work with her at all. She came in once to work with me to do this throat chakra activation for the women in my Priestess Path course. So I wasn't used to working with Hathor. So my soul sister, Federica, she is like, connects to Hathor so deeply. So there's a synchronicity I want to share before moving into the next part of the story. When I got to Bali, Federica was here, and she was staying at this place, and the property that she was staying on had this cow. And I was moving around to different Airbnbs each month. The first few months I was in Bali, And when it was time for Federica to leave Bali, her place that she was staying at was available. So I asked her, can I stay where you're staying? So she connected me to the woman she was renting from, and I ended up going to that property with the cow. And she said to me, she's like, Hathor. And I was like, yeah, Hathor, like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't say it like that. I'm just like, that was kind of my energy of like, oh, that's amazing. Like, that's amazing that sign of Hathor. But like, I didn't connect to Hathor, so it didn't mean as much to me as it did to her, because she really connects to Hathor. And I felt connected to Hathor, but she didn't come to me yet. Like, I was working with other goddesses, so she didn't show up that much for me, and I didn't feel that deep of a connection to her. So I was like, yeah, like that's beautiful, that sign of the cow and everything, but it didn't have much significance to me. And I tell this story because I am now at a new place. So I stayed on that property with the cow, with Hathor, the sign of Hathor, for also, I didn't even take that as a sign from Hathor, but looking back now, it was a sign that I was ready to begin working with her. And so then I came onto, I came to this place where I've only been the last three weeks. And when I got here, this is in a completely different part of Bali. I'm in Sanur right now, and I stayed in Ubud for 4 months. So now or like almost 5 months. So now I'm in Sanur. And when I got here, there was a baby cow. There's a baby cow and 2 adult cows. I don't know if it's its mom and dad, probably, but I saw them, and the baby cow was so sweet. And I've been telling my daughter, because now the last 2 days they've been out that way. Before they were that way. Now they're grazing on the field out there, and I just kept looking at the baby cow. I felt so connected to it, and every time I looked at it, it would look back at me. Like, it would literally stare at me. So I was like, that's interesting. And then this happened literally just the last 2 days. So then I'm like, oh my God, this is a sign from Hathor as well. Like, crazy. So yeah, then when Hathor came in, I was like, oh, she's actually been giving me signs, and I kind of just didn't even realize. I didn't even realize. And so she came through, and then after that, I was like, ooh, let me try to use automatic writing to channel, because now I fully am trusting now. So I'm like, now I actually can say like, okay, I'm gonna set my intention to channel, and then I'm gonna channel, and I'm gonna trust what comes through. And I've been doing that the last week, and like incredible channeled messages are coming through. So the weirdest synchronicity happened that confirmed. So what's been helping me actually to trust my gifts more is that I am getting confirmations now. And now I'm going to share with you all the confirmations so that this can apply to your life, where if you're doubting yourself, you're not trusting your gifts and your intuition and your channeling abilities, I'm sure you're also getting signs and synchronicities to begin trusting it. And then after you get a certain message or whatever it is, however this applies to you and how you could relate to this, ask for a confirmation or a sign that to trust it. This is not something that I did. I didn't ask for confirmation, but I received it anyways. But I could only imagine if you ask your guides or your higher self for a confirmation, if what you're doubting is accurate, I'm sure you'll get a sign. So that's what's been confirming all of this to me the last week. Literally just everything, even from years ago, everything's being confirmed to me, everything, which now I'm like, okay, fully ready to trust my channel now. And so when I began calling in Hathor, I don't know why I felt called to do this, but I went like that. And you guys, okay, first of all, you know Hathor has the cow horns. This is the thing I was doing when, like, literally it just happened, because that's not normally how I call in. Like, when I'm calling in Isis, I just call her in and set my intention. When I was calling in Hathor, I was going like that, and then no, it was like that or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but the Hathor horns. I don't know how my hands were, but this is that's the Hathor cow horns. That's the visual I just saw as I did that. That's crazy. See, like, it's confirmations like this. So I was going like this and I was like, let me repeat her name 3 times because I feel like that would invoke her. So I was like, Hathor, Hathor, Hathor. And then right after I said that, I'm like still mind blown by this. The words that came out of my mouth, which I don't even know where the fuck they came from, probably my past lives of like working with Hathor, but I was like, Hathor, 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 Heteru, Heteru, Heteru. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I didn't even know what I was saying. I just said it and it came through so sharp that I like didn't even question it. And I was like, oh, I'm sure Heteru or whatever I was saying, I'm sure that probably means Hathor in like ancient Egypt language. So I was gonna look it up afterwards. But I was like, Hathor, 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 Heteru, Heteru, Heteru. And I was like, that's so weird. Why am I saying this? I don't even know where it came from. I don't even know what Heteru means. So then I started automatic writing after. And so I contacted Hathor and I got in the channeled message, I got why she was coming through for me now and everything like that. And then like channeled some things from the Syrians and like how that's connected. And then I was like, okay, time for me to look up if Heteru means Hathor, because that was so bizarre to me why that came through. I don't normally call in goddesses like that. And it was so weird. And so I look up Heteru and I thought because the way I said it, I was like, Heteru, Heteru, Heteru. I was like, Heteru. Like, how do you spell that? I don't know. It came through as a voice. So like, I don't know the words. So I was like, in Google, I was typing in Hathor, Heteru, like Heteru, and nothing was showing up. And I'm like, that's so weird. I fucking know that means something. And I know it's Egyptian and I know it has to do with Hathor. So I kept searching and I was scrolling, literally scrolled like a whole page of the Google search and nothing was coming up. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I know this means something. I kept looking and then I see a blog post that was like Hathor, and then it was Heru, like 2 separate words. So I was like, oh my God, I was spelling it wrong. And then it said Hetheru is Hathor in the ancient Egyptian language or in the Egyptian language. I don't know if it's like a different language like now, like, because now in Egypt everyone's speaking Arabic, so it's different, right? It's different, ancient Egyptian, so it has to be ancient Egyptian. Okay, so it said Heru, and I was like, that's the word that came through. Hathor, 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 Heteru, Heteru, Heteru. I was saying Heru, but I thought it was Heteru. Like, so I was like searching it wrong, and I was like, oh my God, like, how freaking crazy is that? Yeah, so it was a sign, like, trust it. Like, because I could have been like, oh, I made that up. I would have never like researched it or Google searched it and just been like, oh, you're so dumb, you just made that shit up in your head. It's like a sign to fucking trust yourself, because the things that are coming through us right now, like our intuition, or all of our gifts are coming online. Like, we have to trust these things. And so that's the journey I've been on. It's like, I've been receiving such a fucking in your face confirmations to trust my channel, and now I'm like, okay, a whole new fucking world's about to open up to me, because now I can trust it, and now I can like intentionally channel and like bring through more information that's gonna have to do with my purpose and my mission, and then also like in the work that I do, like a whole new fucking universe is opening up to me. And I'm so excited for this chapter of my life and my purpose and my mission and in the work I do. I just feel it's about to shift so much. And this is like the beginning stage of it, about to open up to like more galactic things. And also Hathor is very galactic. Hathor is very cosmic. When she came in, I don't even know. All I could explain to you is the visual. She came in emerging out of a fucking cosmic dust, a cosmic cloud of dust, like just fucking galaxy, universe, sparkling, like, and then her face emerged. She's very I like have chills. Hathor is very galactic. So yeah, that was so exciting for me, because now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start working with her and with my throat as well. Because like another thing I want to share before I move into the Syrian stuff is that I have been speaking light language for years, but I don't speak it much because I think I'm making it up. I know that sounds crazy and ridiculous, right? And I share this in case any of you are in the same space where it's like, I've been literally able to speak light language from like the beginning of my awakening, and I very rarely share it. I very rarely share this gift, right? Like, this is a gift, and our gifts aren't for us. Our gifts, the gifts that are coming online right now, aren't meant for us. They're not for us to keep for ourselves. They are for us in the sense of like the healing that we receive. It is for us in a sense, but it's actually for others. So I wasn't like not given this gift, because it's like our gifts from our past lives are coming back. That's why we tap into different lifetimes, right? So when I'm connecting to the Syrian aspect of my soul, it's because I'm meant to bring through like things from that lifetime, and gifts from that lifetime are beginning to come online. When I work with the aspect of my soul as a priestess in Egypt or wherever, Atlantis, Lemuria, those specific gifts come online. So there's a reason certain past lives come to the surface at certain points in your journey, because you're actually, those gifts from those lifetimes are coming online. So when the light language stuff started to come online, it's actually like a healing and an activation that happens when you share light language. So it's healing for others and it activates others. And I haven't been sharing it because I doubted it so much that when I spoke it, I literally doubted it so much. Like, part of me is like, I know this is real, and then the other part's like, you sound dumb and I think you're just making it up. And so I've done that for fucking years with my light language. And so when Hathor came through, part of what I was channeling from her in regards to like messages for me and why she was coming through for me at this time, she was showing me like, I need, first of all, she's here to work with me with my throat, because I'm not using my throat enough, and I'm a sound healer and I work with sound frequencies and light, but that's not something I stepped into yet. But when in many lives, I was a priestess of sound healing, and so that's something I'm being called to activate now, so that I can use sound for healing. And so I was like, oh, like, I just haven't even been using that gift of like light language because I doubted it so much. So I mean, geez, if that's not a sign to like freaking trust yourself, like, that's self-sabotage. Like, self-doubt is self-sabotage in the sense that I could have been using that gift and helping others like with it, and because I doubted so much, I self-sabotage to the point where I haven't even been using it for years, and that's actually crazy to me. And if there's anyone who can relate to that, take this as a sign. Use your gifts, trust your gifts, don't doubt your gifts, and if you do, that's okay, but like, move through that doubt, connect back to your truth, connect to your higher self, and anything that's not of your truth, release it and work through that, because the doubt is sabotage. So I haven't been using that, and so there was a blockage in my throat chakra. So like, that's why Hathor's coming in, among other reasons. And she's like, yeah, it's time you have to share these gifts. And so also another synchronicity that happened is this girl, her name is Atlantean Priestess, I think, on Instagram. So I happened to join one of her lives where she was doing, I think it was a Akashic Records reading, like quick reading. So when I was on her live, she was like, okay, I'm giving out mini Akashic Record readings. If you have a question, let me know your first and last name and the question. And I was like, ooh, me. I didn't literally say that, but I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Please, like, me, I want to know more about my lifetime in Atlantis. So I was like, okay, my name, Melissa Boudreau. I want to know, I was like, I don't have a specific question, but I would really love to know more about my lifetime in Atlantis, because Atlantis is somewhere that I felt so connected to since the very beginning of my awakening journey. And in Atlantis, they really connected to the Sirians as well. So there's a connection there. But anyways, yeah, I was like, I never knew much about my lifetime in Atlantis, only that I felt fucking extremely called to and connected to Atlantis. And actually, it's so beautiful. I feel that I've spent a past life with my dad in Atlantis as well. And this is something I shared with him like a few years ago. And yeah, I just thought that was so beautiful. That was one thing I could have doubted. Like, I felt that intuitively like a long time ago. And I told him, I was like, I really feel like, because he was very open to all of this stuff. And yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't doubt that. And also, it's like about trusting, like when you get certain feelings, like I used to get a feeling that my daughter was my mom in a past life, like many times. And I sometimes would doubt that. But then I was like, no, I know. And then like I would feel things like I would just sense, like I would just know, what is that called? Clear cognizance, I think it's called. It's like clear knowing is what it means. And it's when you just know something. It's easy to dismiss your gifts, right? It's easy to dismiss your psychic gifts. Clear cognizance is one of my strong gifts. Like sometimes I just know things. Like I'll be like, oh, I know that person from Atlantis. I just know. And like with my daughter, it's like, okay, I know that she was a priestess of Isis with me in ancient Egypt in the temples, which is why we were called to move to Egypt for 5 months. So like these are just things we feel. Like maybe you have different gifts. Some people have like the clairaudience, claircognizance, clairvoyance. Like there's all the clairs. I think there's like 5 clairs, right? And it's easy to dismiss them, but the more you trust them and the more you trust your intuition, the stronger your connection is to your specific psychic gifts in whatever form they come in, whether it's clear knowing, clear hearing, like all the different clairs. I'm trying to think. Clairaudience, claircognizance, clairvoyance, and then I forget the other 2. I forget. My strong one's always been claircognizance, so it's easy for me to be like, and it hasn't always been this way. It's easy for me to know now, like to trust that. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, so in the Akashic Records reading, I asked her, and she finally got to me, and she was like, okay, Melissa, divine high priestess of sound healing. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And then she's like, I see a visual of you like singing by the ocean, and when you sing, people stop. It literally stops them in their tracks, and your voice is incredibly healing. I forget what she said. I recorded it. Maybe I'll add it in this clip of my podcast.
Melissa Boutros. I don't have a specific question, but I'd love to know about my role in Lifetime in Atlantis and anything that I need to know about this lifetime that wants to come through. Okay, Melissa, we'll focus on Atlantis, because you know I ain't gonna back away from Atlantis. As soon as someone says it, I'm all over it. Melissa Boutros' role in Atlantis, a divine high priestess. A divine high priestess that uses sound instruments and crystals for extraordinary healing experiences. You are a high priestess of sound, and that means that you heal with your throat. If you haven't gone into toning or light language yet, or singing, that's something that's there. I do feel, as I said that, I feel like this like lump or hump right here, which to me means that it feels blocked or it's a challenge you have to work through. But I see you in this very serene, beautiful, like oceanic dress. It's a very light blue, and you're kind of just like singing, and the singing makes everyone stop in their tracks. And I mean, like, it's like almost like a toning, like, oh, like kind of like that. It's not words, it's not lyrics, it's sound, and it stops them in their tracks, and they just come into peace. So however that brings forward into this lifetime. Are you already a sound healer? Is it something you're interested in?
But yeah, I was like, and then at the end, after she was done channeling that information, she's like, I don't know if you work with sound healing, light language. And I was like, oh my God, another sign. Like, this was before the Hathor sign. So this was the first sign that I was being asked to use my throat chakra more, my sound healing, because it's like sound healing frequencies. When you're speaking light language, it's like sound healing with sound and light, because the codes are like light codes, and it's sound, like the vibration of like right here when you're speaking light language, like the vibrational sound, the sound frequencies are what is healing and people are receiving. So when she told me that, I was like, wow, like actually I've been, you know, feeling called to, you know, like heal with sound. Like I've been wanting to get a singing bowl for so long so I can tone, and like, not that I need a singing bowl to do that, but I really want to be able to use that as a sound healing, because I used to use crystal singing bowls a lot. And I remember when I left Mount Shasta, I gave them all to my friend, and I stopped using them after that because I never bought any new ones because I couldn't travel with them. I had like a whole set of all the singing bowls. But I'm gonna get one soon, and I'm gonna practice with that. And so like go to the ocean, stand and like tone, and that's a new thing that I'm being asked to step into as a part of my mission and purpose and in the work that I do. So like so many shifts right now. But so that was one confirmation, that when I received that, and then the thing with the Hathor also saying like, okay, gotta use your light language, gotta use like your throat, your sound, like healing, you heal through I forget what she wrote. I wrote it in my journal. I don't know if I feel called to share. I don't feel called to share the whole thing because it's like a personal thing, but I kind of want to look at what she said about that, just that exact thing with the sound healing. So I'll share this one part. So I asked, how can I begin working more with my Sirian High Council of Light? And Hathor said, through sound frequencies such as light language, toning, and other modalities. So yeah, it's just confirmation. All of the little things that have been happening lately, it's confirmation of like the message I received. So that was one confirmation, and I just want to share all the confirmations so that maybe it could help you see where you've received confirmation as well, to trust yourself and your gifts, because we do get those confirmations, right? And that's what kind of helps us to trust ourselves more, and it's kind of a process. It takes time. But there is, yeah, like I've just gotten to a certain point where I'm like, I'm deciding to go all in on trusting myself, because I've lived enough of my life in doubt and not trusting myself, and I'm over it. Like I'm ready to fully reclaim my power, remember who I am, and step into what I'm meant to step into in this lifetime, which in order to do that, you need to trust yourself, right? And trust where it is you're being guided, and trust your gifts, and trust what flows through you and what comes through your channel. So that's very important. So another confirmation is the Sirian thing, right? Where I explained that when my Sirian guide Zora showed me the back of her head, it was elongated, and I was watching this video recently. I think it was last night. Yeah, it was last night. I wanted to learn more about the Sirians because I wanted a sign that what they were working with me with is what, like I wanted that confirmation of like knowing that all of this is real. I just wanted more of a confirmation. So I was watching a lot of videos about the Sirians, and yeah, it was confirmed, like, yes, they do like the cosmic surgery, they work on the mental body. It all made sense. So I was like, okay, I could fully trust this now. There's no doubt about it. That this is what's coming through and that I need to trust it. And then what else was there? So yes, so in this video about the Sirians, she was explaining how the Sirians have an elongated skull, and how in Egypt they also have found, actually, because there was a point in the video where she talks about like the Sirians, I don't know a word besides bread. They bred with the certain Egyptians, and this is actually, I forget where I read this, but it's how the royal bloodline was created in Egypt, ancient Egypt, because the royal bloodline, like if you see, I think is it Nefertiti? I forget I think it's Nefertiti, and I forget, there's certain pharaohs who have elongated skulls, right? And the reason that they have elongated skulls is because they are part of the royal bloodline that's connected to the Syrians. So the Syrians have the long skull. They bred with a certain royal, like pharaohs and stuff, and this has caused them to have more of an elongated skull. So the book that I read more about this is called Initiation by Elizabeth Hawke, and she talks about her lifetime as a priestess in ancient Egypt, where there were two I don't know how to explain it, two different, I don't even know the word, like peoples of ancient Egypt, and there was one called the sons of God, and then there were those called the sons of man. So the sons of man were, I think that's the thing, the term. The sons of men or man were just the basic normal humans, and the sons of God are the ones who had the elongated skull, and those are the ones that had the Syrian DNA, and so they had the elongated skull, which shows they had the royal bloodline, the bloodline that had like the Syrian DNA. So that's fucking crazy, right? Just the connection also with Sirius and ancient Egypt, like there's so much there to explore. But when a long time ago, when I got that visual, I was like, did I make that up? Like, did she have an elongated head? And then so when I was watching this video, she's like, yeah, from what I've seen and from what I've heard from others who have channeled the Syrians, they have an elongated skull. And that was the first time when I listened to that video literally last night, that was the first time since I received my own visual of that years ago. That was the first time I've ever heard somebody describe the Syrians having an elongated skull. So I was like mind blown, and I was like, oh my God, like I should have been trusting this so long ago. Like I could have worked, like I was just thinking, like my human mind was like, I could have been working with them for so long, but it's also like I needed to be prepared. So it's supposed to happen at this point in my life. But like, wow, the doubt, like the doubt, oh my gosh. So just a sign to like trust yourself, because when I heard that, I was like, it's all real. It's been real this whole time. I don't know why I think I make things up. And like, yeah, it's just a learning process. Sometimes we need confirmations like that to trust ourselves, and you can ask for confirmations like that if you're ever doubting anything that comes through, or like doubting your gifts or intuition. Ask for a sign. And I've been receiving so many signs this past week that just make everything, there's not 1% chance I will ever believe the doubt again, because now I know like I have to trust this. It's all so real that it's like I can't even doubt it anymore. It's crazy. I think that's the end of the confirmations that I wanted to share about the Syrians, and yeah, I think that's it. So that's all I wanted to share, is like how my story of like doubting myself and then learning to trust myself and trust my intuition and trust my gifts. And I share all of this for any of you listening or watching this podcast episode who also doubt yourself and your gifts. And it's like, we're all so powerful, right? We all have like such amazing gifts, and like doubt keeps us from sharing those gifts. And those gifts, like I said, with the whole like light language thing, it's not just for us. Like a lot of these gifts come online because we're meant to use this in the healing that we do and in the work that we do. We're meant to share these gifts. These gifts are for humanity. This is why we're tapping into all these different lifetimes, and the gifts from those lifetimes are coming online because we're meant to use those gifts for humanity. And like, that's what it's for. So if you're letting fear and doubt keep you from sharing your precious gifts, that not like, we all have unique gifts. Not anyone has the specific gifts you have. Not everyone can bring through information in the way you do and has the wisdom that you do from all of these different lives. So trust that like everything that comes through you, all of your gifts, all of the wisdom, all of everything, trust it. And yeah, that's the message of this podcast episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I was so excited to record it. And yeah, I will see you all in the next podcast episode.